What's up guys, and welcome back to On the Brick with a bit of a behind the scenes video. I know I've been promising to do more of these, and don't worry, they are definitely on their way, but I did want to talk about this Existential Stormtrooper video. Really quick, if you are watching this on YouTube, you should know that there is a slightly longer version available for my patrons. However, the Existential Stormtrooper is a video that actually turned out much better than I even originally had planned. If you haven't seen this video yet, please do go and watch it. I put a lot of time and effort into it. So first things first, this is the editing timeline for this video. One thing to keep in mind is that this was right after having to get my new computer, so a lot of the normal settings that I still had to re-put on here and just didn't yet because I needed to get this video out. But if you're not sure what exactly you're seeing here, I will break it down for you really quick. This is the main audio line right here with all these tiny segments. This is the speech that's going on. Underneath is all the music. This is the main video track with all of the images. This is where like all those words and everything show up here. This is the second and then third video tracks. This is where like additional pictures and everything show up. Actually, this line right here is just where I have the On the Brick encoded, and then I have additional pictures on top, like this Stormtrooper, which is here, or both of the Stormtroopers here, for instance. And I actually wanted to start by talking about that speech. Now, one thing you might have noticed is that the voice is not my own, and again, that was extremely intentional. The voice comes from a very good friend of mine who I reached out to immediately to ask if they wanted to do this, and they very excitedly said yes. And I explained to them this whole time problem that I had, but told them to just record themselves saying it and I would figure it out later. A short time later, they came back and sent me the finished product, including making themselves sound like a stormtrooper. And when I sat down and listened to the full speech, I realized that I could not cut it up. With no intention of praising myself really, I do think that I wrote a pretty good monologue. But my friend's delivery of the speech made it so much better. I immediately recognized that I needed a new song, and there was only one choice, which is the one that I have now, the main theme of Tenet, but on piano. I know it's not a very Christmas song. I am absolutely one of those people that will listen to a song again and again and again and again, just on repeat for hours. So that's pretty much what I did for an entire day. I just listened to this song while I listened to the recording of the monologue, and I tried to figure out the cadence that I would want for it, because I knew that if I could get the cadence of the speech down, finding the visuals would be rather easy. Obviously, when it came to the videos, I knew that I would have to include the Stormtrooper in some sense, as it was obviously a video about it. And I actually did try to make some of these sequences in stop motion, but they just didn't work. So I found it a lot better to just take these individual pictures and then do everything digitally. And this is where something comes in that I'm surprised only one person really commented on. This Stormtrooper is not the one that came in this year's advent calendar. Now, that was a very intentional decision, as if you listen to the dialogue, it would actually make sense. And it's also the reason why later in the video, the correct Stormtrooper shows up. But I did find it really funny that for the first 4 minutes of this video, I used the wrong Stormtrooper and no one said anything. But that's actually why a lot of the sequences have this Stormtrooper in them. It's really actually kind of weird, because if you took the Stormtrooper out of this video, I think you would still have a really strong video. But it is made just a little more silly since it had to be about a Stormtrooper. And I actually put some serious thought into not having the Stormtrooper show up at all until the very end, except that there were two sequences which I really wanted to do. The first is when all these Stormtroopers show up in sequence to the notes being played. Also, I wanted to point out here that the third Stormtrooper from the left always tricks my mind, and it looks like it's looking to the left. For some reason, I don't have the pictures saved where I edit my pictures, but on the left here, you can see just how many individual images this actually took to do. And the second sequence was the one that I really wanted to do from the beginning, and that is about 2 minutes in when the stormtrooper is falling and more of his bodies start showing up as it fills the screen. That sequence actually took a lot of time to do. I had to do a lot of things for it. First off, I had to get the correct picture of the stormtrooper. In fact, all of these pictures are ones that I took and then had to edit. You can see all of that here. But second, the original background picture of this actually has a guy falling through it, and now that I've pointed it out, I'm sure you can easily see it. But I had to remove him first, which is something that I've actually done quite a lot in a lot of like my thumbnails and whatnot. And then I had to recreate 18 different images, adding one more stormtrooper every single time. And yes, I did almost immediately realize that one of the instances I accidentally added two. Also, it was a very intentional decision to keep this stormtrooper fuzzy, as this is the sequence where they are falling into a dream. Another one of the sequences in this video that I really enjoyed was about 4 minutes in, when we're talking about the smallest of changes rippling to the biggest of differences, and I show the transition from the very first stormtrooper to the one that we actually got in this advent calendar. And then we start talking about living 2 lives, 4 lives, a million lives, and yes, again, that is another image that I had to create and took some time. I mean, it only took like 5 minutes, but still. And then I also just really like the part where he talks about past lives, future lives, and lives never lived, and I show clone troopers, First Order stormtroopers, and then clone troopers of different variations. That was not something I had planned while writing the script, but I just think it worked out beautifully. Obviously, when it comes to the visuals, there are a lot of others that are not stormtroopers. One that I'm slightly upset about is at the very beginning when we're talking about possibilities and whatnot, and all of these galaxy bubbles show up. This is an image that I made, and I found a universe bubble, I recreated it a bunch of times, I changed the colors for all of them. Again, it's not like it took an hour to do, probably about 5 minutes, but then I put it into the video and made the decision that everything should be black and white, and so half that work just went away. In fact, the decision to make everything monochrome and black and white was only based off of the fact that the stormtrooper is black and white, and it was kind of a joke on that, as he was technically in color, but still not. And I did make a bit of a mistake with this, as later on in the video, when I was showing the various clone troopers and stormtroopers, I didn't make them black and white. It doesn't really matter that much in the end, but still. A lot of the other still images I would just take from Google. I would listen to the dialogue, see what it was saying, find an image, and put it in there. I did very intentionally try to keep a bit of a psychedelic theme going, as that's kind of what was happening in this video, but that is actually really hard to find some images for. For instance, here's the full color version of the one that I use when talking about love, and I had to use this one because every other psychedelic image of love was quite sexual. So that's where a lot of these images came from, though. I would literally just type in like psychedelic death, psychedelic love, anything of what was being said in the dialogue, and finding a picture to go with it. But obviously there are actual video elements that show up in the background throughout this video, and they all come from a single video that I found on YouTube. Well, not all. There are 2 very small sequences that come from other places. The very first thing that we see with like the eye going into the galaxy and whatnot comes off of a video talking about if psychedelics are actually okay or not. Then there's like a 2-second shot from a completely different video, but the majority of them come from a video with an incredibly long name. Best 2016 Side Chill Psychedelic 3D Visual Progressive Trippy Music Mix. It's an hour-long video that has a bunch of psychedelic music going on and trippy visuals. I just took clips from there, turned to black and white. I usually would either reverse them or mirror them, more again just to get that slightly unsettling imagery than anything, and I think it worked. Full credit to these guys. I want to make sure that they get full credit because I did not make those visuals at all. Then again, to be fair, I don't actually know if they did. So that's basically it. I spent a lot of time working on these individual images. I spent a good amount of time working on the monologue, and then I think when I sat down to actually edit, it took about 6 or 7 hours. I don't remember exactly, but I remember it took a good amount of time. Probably like this video will. But if you have any further questions on this, by all means, feel free to ask me in the comments down below. I know I left out a ton of stuff. If you are interested in seeing more behind the scenes videos, make sure you hit that like button and please do subscribe. I need to send a huge thank you to all of my patrons who did help me have income during that time. Jonathan, Jaden, JA, and JV, I sincerely appreciate you, and of course everyone else on this list. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you next time.